This is the story of a night stalker, a killer who victimized travelers on the popular trains of Europe, crossing borders at will, and how police from 4 countries collaborated through Interpol to catch him before he killed again. When crimes are committed, an international organization unites police officers to deliver justice. Interpol investigates. The Limoges-Paris night train. It barrels through the Loire Valley of France at 100 miles an hour. And usually blows past the small town of Chabanais, about 180 miles south of Paris. Few tourists visit this tranquil village. But one night, murder comes to call. In October 1999, a man walking by the railroad tracks makes a shocking discovery. The partially clothed body of a young woman. French gendarmes from nearby Bourges respond. They confront a disturbing sight.
It was quite difficult. We knew it was a girl, but identifying her was practically impossible, especially because she had no identity cards.
Colonel Bruno Aymar leads the investigation. The gendarmes are the military police who handle law enforcement in rural areas of France. He and his fellow investigators have little to go on beside the wrecked body. Somewhere hidden near these railroad tracks lie clues to this woman's identity. And possibly the key to her killer. Aymar soon finds the clue he needs: the woman's watch. The hands have stopped.
The hands on the watch were stopped at 4:10, but we couldn't tell whether it was 4:10 p.m. or 4:10 a.m.
But when Aymar removes the watch, it starts to work.
This meant that the fall must have stopped it.
The expensive watch tells investigators robbery was probably not a motive. Not much to go on, but all they have right now. The local press jumps on the story.
You have to realize that Chabanais is quite small. It is very isolated. So this incident immediately attracted the local press.
When the local newspaper files this story, Véronique Poutin, a French press agency reporter, runs with it.
It was like thunder. In a region where nothing much happens, you don't see things like this on the front page of the newspaper.
The story receives national attention, striking a wave of terror among the 50 million French citizens and tourists who depend on the train for safe passage each year. The killer has struck just as France plays host to more visitors than anywhere else in the world.
Unlike the United States, where everyone flies, in France we embrace the train. It's an image of childhood. There's a romance about the train that makes it part of the French culture.
With tourism at a record high, this anonymous victim could have come from anywhere. The medical examiner finds no evidence of sexual assault. He determines that she fell to her death from the speeding train, killed by the violent impact. A random victim or marked for death. Hemar can't say until he learns more about her. Though her watch has no monogram, it has a distinctive design. Hemar takes a shot in the dark that pays off.
We researched the watch, and we discovered that it was manufactured and sold only in Great Britain.
Hemar believes the victim may be English. To find out more will require help from the world's police force, Interpol. John Imhoff, former head of Interpol's National Central Bureau in Washington, D.C.
Interpol is a dedicated network that allows law enforcement officers to communicate worldwide instantaneously.
Almost 500 miles from Chabanais, in a small village in northern England,
is missing. She didn't make
a mother and father report their daughter missing. "20-year-old Megan Thompson had gone to France to study law. But homesickness drew her back to England. She left for home the same day the body was found in Chabanais.
She should have arrived at Birmingham New Street Station, as she should have been met by her boyfriend.
Detective Diane Mon investigates the case. When Megan fails to show up, her boyfriend calls her family, and they contact police.
It was unclear initially whether she'd gone missing in France or in England.
To help find Megan, British police contact Interpol, which issues a yellow notice.
The yellow notice is the flag that this is a missing person. Here's somebody that we're desperately trying to find.
Colonel Hemar receives the notice 5 days after the discovery of the body by the treks in Chabanais.
We were notified by the policeman of the Regional Crime Squad of Limoges that Interpol London had submitted to them a report about a missing person, a girl who had left Limoges and who had not arrived in England.
He notifies Interpol. The victim matched Megan Thompson's description. Days later, Megan's parents arrive in France. Colonel Hemar shows them the jewelry recovered from the body. The couple recognize their daughter's possessions, enabling authorities to officially identify the victim as Megan Thompson. Her body is so disfigured that police never show it to her parents. Megan was just 5 months shy of her 21st birthday. The positive identification rivets the public's attention.
When she was identified and we learned she was English, the French and English press reacted immediately. All the newspapers picked up the story, and the press took the case into their own hands. The pressure from the newspapers was so strong, especially from the English press.
The police retrace Megan's final hours. At the university in Limoges, France, Colonel Aymar questions the victim's roommates to find out when she left her apartment. Investigators learn Megan planned to take the night train from Limoges to Paris, where she would travel on to England. Aymar's next stop, Limoges Station. The ticket agent remembers seeing Megan, who paid cash for her ticket. Aymar learns the train left Limoges at 3:08 and passed by the Chabanais station at 4:10 a.m. without stopping. 4:10 a.m., the time frozen on Megan Thompson's watch when her body was discovered. Investigators now know the exact train Megan rode the night she died.
We seized the whole train, all the cars, and took it back to Limoges Station to search for DNA traces or any clues in the car.
But police face a nagging inconsistency. The French National Rail System, the SNCF, tells investigators it is impossible for anyone to fall or be thrown from the train. All doors and windows automatically lock when the train accelerates to cruising speed. Even so, Aymar feels certain that Megan Thompson had been on this train, and that somehow, someone had forced her off at high speed. Investigators find their proof. One car with the automatic locking feature disabled. Crime technicians scour the car, but cannot find any significant clues.
It had already been used again. The cars had been cleaned, so any evidence was wiped away.
But investigators will find their most valuable clues outside the train. Along the tracks, 10 kilometers north of where Megan Thompson's body was found, a hunter discovers a purse. Inside, a passport. Megan Thompson's passport. Police find her luggage farther down the track. The discovery supports Aymar's darkest suspicions. It proves that Megan Thompson had not fallen, had not thrown herself from the train.
We knew it was a murder because her belongings followed her off the train.
Not only had Megan Thompson been murdered, her killer roves free along the railways of Europe. A young student in France tries to get back to her family in England, and instead meets her death along the train tracks. The killer's still out there. Somewhere. Anywhere. Gendarmes launch an intensive manhunt for a faceless suspect. The French rail system cooperates, providing the names of passengers who purchased their tickets by credit card. But many passengers, including Megan Thompson, paid cash. Police also know that another group doesn't pay at all. The so-called train rats, who sneak aboard without tickets.
In this investigation, we became familiar with the underworld of night trains, and we realized a very shady crowd travels on these night trains. There are dropouts, hooligans who are looking to steal.
In many countries, passengers caught without tickets must either get off the train or buy a ticket on the spot. In France, passengers caught without tickets are cited and later issued a fine. Train inspectors do not force them off the train if they can show identification. To solve the Megan Thompson murder, French police, who generally don't ask for assistance from the press, make a public appeal for witnesses who might have seen the young student. Investigators also begin riding the train at the same time of night Megan Thompson would have been aboard. They interview passengers who regularly took the night train and might have seen something. Investigators question hundreds of witnesses. After almost 2 months, riding the rails pays off. One passenger recalls Megan speaking with a young man. Himar reconstructs a timeline of their trip.
She arrives at the Limoges station, and she withdraws 2,000 francs from the cash dispenser. Then, she goes to the ticket office, where she purchases a ticket to Paris. The ticket agent remembers this young lady very well.
Merci.
Then, at around 2 in the morning, she talks to another witness, who tells police that he remembers seeing Megan. A man wearing a cap stops to talk with her. He tells her that he is from Marseille and that he is traveling without a ticket. They get on the 17th car and sit side by side. The train pulls out at 3:08 a.m. Some time later, they leave the car and move to the next one. After Megan Thompson switches cars, no one sees her again. Based on the description of the man given by the witness, police create a computer-generated picture. Thousands of people come and go on the train, unnoticed. One of them is the killer, ready to strike again. And he could strike anywhere. Dijon, France, about 160 miles from Paris. On a chilly December night in 1999, the Calais-Ventimiglia train rattles through the city on its regularly scheduled route. On board, the train inspector notices a little boy sleeping alone in a compartment. He looks for the child's parents, sees no one.
Bonsoir.
Before exiting the car, the inspector makes his routine check of the restroom, patrolling stowaways. He finds the body of a woman crumpled on the floor. Stab wounds perforate her body. She barely clings to life. In just 2 months, the French rail system has endured 2 murderous assaults. A murderer stalks the night trains in France. His first victim, a British student, her body found thrown by the side of the tracks. The second victim, a young woman, stabbed and left for dead in a bathroom. Police have a description of a suspect, but no names. Dijon Inspector Pierre-Marc Panazio leads the investigation.
It's unusual because it occurred at night. It took place in a train, a place where people should feel safe.
Dijon police cordon off the train to keep witnesses and a possible killer on board. Train authorities call the paramedics, but they can't save the victim.
We examined the body, an initial evaluation of the cause of death. The body was next to the restroom sink. What position were the feet in? How was the victim's body positioned? Were the arms folded? Were the arms stretched out? All those indications were noted. And this person had a purse. We opened it very carefully and discovered her ID.
Sylvie Bagot, from northern France. And police soon discover a child alone who was traveling with Sylvie Bagot.
This was very hard because he was just a child. We were not supposed to let him know that something terrible had happened, that his mother had died. So we needed to get some information from the child to be able to contact the victim's husband. I have two boys that were about the same age at the time of the events, so I tried to talk to him. I was expecting him to ask me, "Where is my mom?" I had trouble facing that question. That child touched me personally.
Believing the killer could still be on board, they hoped to flush him out. Although many of the passengers slept, some report seeing a passenger in a baseball cap, acting suspiciously.
He was very agitated, nervous. He moved around, he caused problems, he acted strangely.
Despite their thorough search, police can't find a passenger matching the description of the suspect. But in a nearby compartment, they discover hard evidence he had been there.
We found a baseball cap lying a short distance from the body. A blood-stained cap that we took away to analyze.
Then, police find evidence that the suspect fled the train.
We found a blood stain, a handprint on one of the doors in the car.
Police learned that the train makes a routine maintenance check in Dijon. The train stopped just 5 minutes before they discovered the body.
One person left the train after the maintenance stop when he wasn't supposed to. We established that he was a stowaway. He knew for sure that this train would make a maintenance stop at the Dijon station at that time.
The train inspector remembers the man. The official had discovered the stowaway and written him a citation.
When someone is traveling without a ticket, the train inspector asks for an ID to verify the person's identity. In this particular case, he presented a document identifying himself as Sid Ahmed Rezala. We had finally found a very promising suspect.
Dijon police learn that Sid Ahmed Rezala is a 20-year-old Algerian immigrant who has done time for raping a 14-year-old boy and committing multiple counts of violent robbery. In his crimes, he often used a knife. He was released in June 1999, 4 months before the first train murder. Inspector Panazio issues a nationwide police bulletin, alerting French law enforcement agencies to find and apprehend Rezala. The bulletin reaches Colonel Bruno Hemar, still investigating the 2-month-old train murder of British University student Megan Thompson. Bourges investigators seize upon the similarities between the Dijon and the Chabanais murders. Though the violent manner of death differed, the parallels pointed to the same malicious killer. Both women rode the night trains. Sid Ahmed Rezala's mugshot resembled the computer-generated illustration. And one other striking similarity.
We suspected a man who several minutes earlier had been fined because he was traveling without a ticket. So we immediately made the connection.
The Bourges gendarmes call the police in Dijon.
When they found out about the picture, they contacted me to say, okay, we are interested because we already have something against this person from another homicide. Let's talk and try to cooperate.
The murders stir the press into frenzy. French police have to contend with both the murderer and constant media attention. The tradition of train travel in Europe and the region's dependence on the railway creates an unprecedented level of public interest.
The hardest thing for us in this investigation was the pressure. The pressure of the press, the pressure of our superiors. That kind of pressure is unbearable.
The investigators discover that since leaving prison, Rezala practically lived on the trains. Always on the move. Inspectors had fined him over 40 times for riding without a ticket.
This is unique. It's a stalker case. A person who lives by night and takes advantage of the situation. Because during the night, there are fewer witnesses. It's easier to hide, to escape, to use the darkness to disguise oneself. I'm sure the same crime could not have been committed at 4 p.m. It's impossible.
A killer stalks the railways of France, relying on darkness as his ally, striking, then vanishing into the night. Police believe they know his name, and they are certain he will kill again. French authorities in Bourges and Dijon have joined forces to stop a killer on the French rail system. The suspect, 20-year-old ex-con Sid Ahmed Rezala. An expert stowaway, he'll be nearly impossible to track down. But Dijon Police Inspector Pierre-Marc Panazio has a plan. To get to Rezala, he'll identify everyone who he had visited while in jail.
We had his parents' address in Marseille, his girlfriend's address in Amiens, which turned out to be something critical.
A man on the run will seek places where he has allies. Police begin surveillance on both his family's home in Marseille and his girlfriend's apartment in Amiens. When the press learn police have a suspect, they demand to know the name of the man they've dubbed the Railway Ripper.
The magistrate gave a press conference in Dijon saying he didn't want to identify the suspect by name because they were concerned he would escape. But someone leaked it.
One journalist, defying authorities, calls on Rezala's family, tipping off Rezala that he's the prime suspect in the hunt for the Railway Ripper.
Monsieur Rezala.
Moi-même.
Non, Sid Ahmed Rezala.
Il n'est pas là, il a quitté, vous l'avez manqué.
The magistrate's worst fears are realized. When Marseille police arrive, Rezala has already fled. Knowing he's wanted, a violent, unstable criminal like Rezala can act in two ways. He could vanish, or he could kill again.
For us, this caused a lot of problems. The suspect was agitated. He panicked and he ran.
Rezala retreats to the world he knows best, the night trains.
We never stopped worrying that he could hurt another victim.
As the information about Rezala becomes public, hundreds of phone calls pour in.
The public was passionate about this investigation because it involved the train, because it involved a young woman, because a child had lost his mother. That made people upset.
Police investigate real and imagined Rezala sightings in Paris, Amiens, and Dijon.
People didn't just see him in the trains. They'd see him at gas stations. They would see him in town. Things like that.
To the public, it seems the Railway Ripper is everywhere. But to the police, he is nowhere to be found. Tracking Rezala's movements north of Paris to Amiens, Inspector Panazio meets with some of Rezala's friends.
To have these conversations with young women, we had to win their trust. We had to convince them that he was a very dangerous person, that there could be more victims.
Panazio persuades them to reveal crucial information. He learns that Rezala rents a room in an apartment building in Amiens. They are too late. They find an empty apartment, or so it appears. They search the entire building, ending up in the basement.
When we searched in Amiens, we were looking for a living person, a fugitive. Then, we discovered something in the basement, under a pile of coal. the body of a young woman.
Investigators have found another victim, but they are no closer to capturing Rezala. In France, authorities stage a nationwide manhunt for 20-year-old Sid Ahmed Rezala, suspected of murdering 2 young women on France's national rail system. In the basement of a building in Amiens, where Rezala hides out, police uncover the body of a 3rd victim. 20-year-old Renée Vasse, missing for 2 months. The report was filed over 2 weeks after Rezala's first victim, Megan Thompson, was found dead. Vasse has been strangled. Suspecting that Rezala may have fled the country, French authorities contact Interpol. The international crime-fighting organization issues a red notice for Sid Ahmed Rezala.
A red notice is a wanted notice, a poster, if you will, that is promulgated internationally as opposed to just within the bounds of a single country.
Now, an already sensational story reaches fever pitch.
It was in the papers. Everyone knew his face. Everyone knew the story of the British woman, the victim in Dijon and the one in Amiens. All the details were known. That created a certain panic in the night trains.
The entire nation of France wonders when and where the railway ripper will strike next. Police struggle to keep the lines of communication open between departments without feeding the rumor mill on the streets. Success demands flawless cooperation. Local, regional, and national police team up to catch the railway ripper. Each has its own methodology and its own set of cases to solve. But Rezala takes top priority. The magistrate grants the police permission to trace and record phone conversations of people they believe he may contact. Inspector Panazio manages to turn one of the suspect's old friends into an ally.
Hello?
We had earned her trust, and very bravely, this person chose to inform me.
It started with a puzzling phone call in a language she didn't understand, from a number she didn't recognize. But it was the break investigators were looking for.
She did not understand why they were talking to her in Portuguese, and she decided to give me that number, saying, "It's weird, it's strange, I don't know this number. They speak a foreign language. Can you check it?"
If Rezala placed the suspicious call, then it means he's fled the country and is now in Portugal. French authorities contact Interpol's National Central Bureau, headquartered in Lisbon, Portugal.
We received the information here at Interpol. We knew right away the case was very serious.
Dr. Luis Neves is head of Interpol's National Central Bureau and the coordinator of investigations for the Portuguese Ministry of Justice. Now he must pick up the trail of the killer in Lisbon.
We knew what he had done and that he was a very dangerous man, and we knew he could escape.
French police traced the call that Rezala's friend had received. It originated from a phone booth in the town of Baixa de Banheira, 12 miles from Lisbon. Law enforcement agencies in Portugal find the booth and verify the information on the caller ID. Now, they can zero in on their suspect.
We communicated with the French via Interpol to tell them that the place really existed and that their information was good.
French investigators fly to Portugal to join their colleagues. John Imhoff and others depend on this crucial level of cooperation.
It's important for Interpol to be a partner in these investigations and to bridge communication gaps. The person who brought the matter to Interpol should take credit for the achievement because they had the good sense to go that way.
We immediately went to Baixa de Banheira. We brought in many criminal investigators and spread out to try to find Rezala.
Within hours of staking out the phone booth, Lisbon detectives spot a man fitting Rezala's description, heading into a post office. They tail him. This case, of international proportions, hinges on what happens next. Lisbon police calculate the right moment to take him down. Any slip, and Rezala could disappear. And when they strike fast.
Sid Ahmed Rezala.
French detectives confirm that the man in custody is the railway ripper, Sid Ahmed Rezala.
Rezala was very surprised. He never suspected he would be arrested here.
While France prepares extradition proceedings, Rezala stays imprisoned in Portugal. With his capture, the French authorities must now build their case against him. They hire Rémi Julien, a movie special effects designer, to recreate Megan Thompson's brutal death. With mannequins, they reconstruct her terrifying last moments, being thrown from a speeding train at Chabanais.
We positioned the mannequin on the window. And the mannequin fell practically at the same place where the body had been found. All the elements of the crime matched our reconstruction. We knew the way he had done it, that he had thrown her by toppling her over the window.
4 months after Rezala's arrest, a French magazine publishes an interview with Rezala in a Portuguese prison. In the article, Rezala confesses to the murders of all 3 women. He claims to have experienced flashes of light that triggered him to kill.
Why did he kill? This is not just my opinion, but also what the psychologists think. He was in his own world, in a bubble, and then everything external stopped mattering. The only thing that mattered was being rejected. He felt very bad being rejected by a man or a woman, and in that moment, he would turn into another person, a very dangerous one.
Then, 1 month after his confession, Rezala kills one last time. Inside a Portuguese prison, just a few weeks before going back to France to stand trial, he sets his mattress on fire. Within minutes, he dies of smoke inhalation.
If Rezala had not died, he would have been sent to France maybe 10 or 15 days later. That was what scared him the most, having to go back to jail in France again.
But now, as suddenly as it began, it was over. For the killer and for the families of the victims. At the home of Rezala's first victim, the news of his death comes as a shock. Detective Constable Diane Mon assisted Megan Thompson's family through their ordeal.
On the one hand, a satisfactory trial and result of trial brings some finality for the family. But on the other hand, the fact that they didn't have to suffer a trial, they didn't have to go through the trauma of that trial, was again a relief.
Inspector Panazio and his colleagues from Dijon gain valuable knowledge by working with the police in different Interpol member countries.
This small case touched Portugal, touched Great Britain, and in some way that brought us closer. It was a terrible case. Above all, these people did not deserve what happened to them. You feel quite helpless when faced with these acts, but we cannot prevent everything.
The overwhelming publicity surrounding the case focuses the public's attention on train safety. The French National Railroad improves security on the night route, re-establishing confidence in the venerable railways. Megan Thompson's family makes certain that their daughter's tragic death will contribute to the awareness. They donate money given in their daughter's name to the Suzy Lamplugh Trust, a foundation that helps to educate young men and women about protecting themselves as they travel the continent of Europe.